It's been a long, unprecedented offseason for fans and players alike, but for the next few hours, things will feel a little more normal as college soccer returns to the ACC network, where the 5th-ranked Fighting Irish of Notre Dame hosts the 4th-ranked Pittsburgh Panthers here at Alumni Stadium. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Chris Frick, and I am joined inside the broadcast booth by my partner, Patty Foss. And Patty, even though things may look a little different off the field, we've got an exciting 90 minutes to look forward to on the field.
Well, exciting matchup indeed, Chris. These are two teams who are well coached, they're organized, and they're playing highly attractive brands of soccer here to begin the season. Should be a great night in South Bend.
And Patty, even though it's early on in the season, some key players already out for both sides. For Notre Dame, junior forward Jack Lynn, who led the team with 8 goals last season, is out with an injury.
Well, Jack Lynn is a fantastic talent for this Irish team, and his presence will be sorely missed. The Irish will look to attack by committee tonight, look for a number of different players to get in on that attack.
And just an hour before today's game, Pitt announced that senior forward Edward Kiza, who led the team with 12 goals last season, is no longer a part of Pitt's soccer program and is out for the season. Patty, what does his loss mean for the team?
Well, Chris, Edward Kiza is one of the top talents in the conference, maybe even in the country as far as goal scorers go. This is going to be a huge loss for Pitt, and to see how they cope without their goal scorer is going to be a huge storyline tonight.
Yeah, and Pitt's going to have to find offense elsewhere, and that elsewhere may be senior forward Alexander Dexter. What do you like out of him, Patty?
Well, Dexter is a quick, shifty player. He loves to run at back lines, loves to go one-on-one, and is capable of finishing with both feet if he can get you in and around the box.
And then for Notre Dame, you normally see a lot of their offense coming from Jack Lynn, but in his place will be freshman forward Daniel Russo. What do you like out of him?
Well, Daniel Russo has come into this Notre Dame team. He's supremely confident. He knows he belongs. He can get in behind back lines, and as he showed against Kentucky, he can be lethal out of the air. So look for him to fill that role that's voided by Jack Lynn.
We've got an exciting game coming up here on the ACC network. It's Pitt, it's Notre Dame, and it's coming up right after the break. Welcome back inside Alumni Stadium. An exciting matchup between the players here today, but also an exciting matchup between the coaches. For Pitt, it's 5-time ACC Coach of the Year, Jay Vidovich at the helm.
Well, and the job that Jay Vidovich has done alongside his staff in Pitt over the last 4 years has been nothing short of spectacular. They've taken the program from the bottom of the ACC to one that is going to compete for a title here in 2020.
Yeah, and as we get ready to kick off, you see there head coach Chad Riley in his 3rd year with the Irish. And there you see a moment of silence before the game. Both teams kneeling together in unity against injustice in the country. As we kick off underway here at Alumni Stadium. Both teams trying to control the ball to start the game, and Pitt comes down with it. Gets it back to Crivello. Crivello over to Dexter and back to Crivello. And as we mentioned in the open, Patty, it's going to be interesting to see how both teams try to set the tone here with both of their normal attackers out of this game.
Well, that's right, and really interesting to see early on for Pitt, who will fill that void of Edward Kiza. Right now, they've started senior Matt Bailey there at the number 9 spot, but look for Petkovic to get alongside him, see if they can play off one another and fill some of that void there in the center forward position.
Yeah, Pitt certainly not lacking in offensive talent. Petkovic with 6 goals last season, Dexter with 3. As it'll be a throw-in for Notre Dame. As we take a look at Pitt's lineup on this game, obviously a little bit different than usual, but as you mentioned, Bailey taking the 9 spot over for Edward Kiza.
That's right, and watching this Pitt team against Louisville last night was really impressed with that center back tandem of Bryce Washington and Arturo Ordonez. Just really calm, collected, cool on the ball, and really good passing through the midfield, starting in that back line.
Yeah, and you mentioned that exhibition game against Louisville, a 5-0 thwomping there. As Pitt tries to control the ball, but Notre Dame regains possession. Pitt, it's Matt Bailey trying to fight for it, but Notre Dame comes back with possession, and they'll work it along their back line. As we take a look at Notre Dame's lineup now, and there you see the key player that we highlighted, Daniel Russo, but a couple other guys in there that Coach Matt Riley really likes, including Aiden McFadden.
Well, that's right, and McFadden was so good against Kentucky, running at players alongside that right-hand side and with some quality service into the box. So see if he can do the same here tonight and perhaps connect in the middle with Daniel Russo.
It's senior goalie Keegan McLaughlin with the ball for Notre Dame, taking over for Duncan Turnbull, who graduated. McLaughlin's been really good in his few starts for Notre Dame. He's started 4 times and hasn't allowed a goal in any of those starts. As Pitt tries to attack, but an errant pass there for Matt Bailey. Notre Dame will get a throw in. Once again, working it along the back line, trying to get it up ahead. And it's Russo trying to fight for the header. Pellegrino comes down with it for Notre Dame, and Notre Dame tries to take the attack. And it's Patrick Coleman on the outside for Notre Dame. He loses possession, though. Notre Dame gains control back of it. It's Senden Farley on the back line, who head coach Matt Riley calls the best defender on this team.
Well, it's been interesting to watch here in the opening minutes, Chris, for two teams that really pride themselves on keeping the ball on the floor and connecting passes. A little bit sloppy, and neither team really getting anything going and getting a rhythm here early.
As Pitt keeps it in bounds, they'll cross it in, but it's Philip Quinton there for the stop. He gets it over to freshman Matt Radvoisa. Kicked out of bounds, Notre Dame will have a throw-in. As Matt Bailey has a discussion with the referee. Bailey used to playing midfielder, but seems like they're trying to have him on the attack tonight in Keys' absence.
Well, that's right, and you can see there, I think he's a little bit fortunate to get away without going in the referee's book there early on in the game, but a guy who's clearly trying to make his presence known here early and often for the Panthers.
As Notre Dame boots it forward, it's Coleman fighting for the ball, but it's Loffelsen who ends up getting it. Loffelsen and Coleman fighting on the far sideline for it, and Pitt will have the free kick here. Pitt working it along their back line once again over to Bryce Washington. Washington back to Computano. He boots it forward, but Notre Dame's under it, and just 2 goalies playing pass right there. McFadden trying to control it for Notre Dame. Fought off by Crivello. And that'll be a foul on Crivello there. Notre Dame will get a free kick. It'll be Mohamed Omar taking the free kick for Notre Dame. He just passes it back to Townsend Mayer. Mayer over to Farley. Farley over to Quinton. Notre Dame working right to left right now. Pitt now with the ball. Both teams seem to be trying to find a rhythm here early, Patty, and neither team seems to be getting much going thus far.
Well, that's right. Neither team really able to string a series of passes together, and we're seeing more and more of that from Computano. Just sitting on the ball too long and not coming up with options. Notre Dame's done a good job in forcing Pitt to go long so far. They're really condensing the field and not allowing them to play through those central midfielders.
Yeah, and you mentioned that right there. Mayer trying to get the ball to Russo on the inbounds, but a nice play by Bryce Washington to get it away. Now it's Abulnati trying to take the ball up the field for Notre Dame. They slow it back down, pass it back out to the back line. And that one goes out of bounds. McFadden not able to control it. Pitt back with possession again. And you mentioned some of the tight defense, Patty. I mean, that might just be a result of this tough ACC play. I mean, ACC, toughest soccer conference in the country right here.
Well, to an extent, and I think here early on in the season especially, both these teams still trying to find a bit of an identity, and both, as we talked about in the open, very organized, very well coached, and so not a lot of passing lanes here in the opening minutes. That being said, both teams really need to find their footing. They need to find their central midfielders and see if they can start to connect those passes. If you're Chad Riley, you're going to be looking for Mo Omar to get on the ball, to dictate the pace of play, and see if you can start to string the ball together.
And you mentioned it being early on in the season. I mean, both these teams have had a very unusual offseason. How does that impact a player from their perspective, just in terms of getting ready and getting in the right mindset, getting in the right physical shape, kind of losing that offseason?
Well, I think this is a little bit of an unprecedented time, and so it's hard to know player to player. I would say that the players are excited to play. You know, they're excited that they get the chance to come out here. But you're right. This is not a typical offseason. They've been expected to do a lot of work individually, and the guys on the field today you can expect to be very professional about their preparation. But nothing can get you ready for the ACC soccer slate, and it's going to take a few weeks for them to mesh and to find their identity both individually and as a team.
Coleman there not able to control the ball, and Pitt gains possession back. Gets it over to Crivello. Crivello trying to get into the middle of the field, but a nice play there by Senan Farley. Pitt resets on offense. Back on the back line now. Russo putting the defensive pressure on right now for Notre Dame, not really letting Pitt get into the offensive half of the field.
And I think Notre Dame will be comfortable with this, allowing Pitt to have the ball in their defensive third, string passes alongside the back line. Not a whole lot of danger right now from the Panthers.
Merkovich trying to move into the offensive zone. Gets it over to Petkovic. Petkovic trying to weave his way through, but a bad pass there, and Radovoisa comes down with it. Another turnover. Pitt looking to push. Coach Riley talked about their good counterattack before this game. Obviously, that's hurt a little bit by Kiza being out, but you know, what does Notre Dame have to do to kind of avoid that counterattack when they are trying to create their own chances on offense?
Well, it's a good point, Chris. This Pitt Panthers team is very quick, and they're very dynamic in the way that they can counter, and they can do so fast. Alexander Dexter and Burton Jackson are both very capable wide players, and if you give away cheap passes in the midfield, they can make you pay, and they can make you pay fast.
Pitt resetting once again. It's Washington with the ball once again. Been calling his name a lot here early. Washington, the senior from Atlanta, Georgia. Trying to get it there to Jackson, but just a little too much pace on that ball, and it'll be a goal kick for Notre Dame. As McLaughlin gets the ball over to Quinton, who gives it back to Farley. Notre Dame working it around in their own box right now. And Phil Quinton, coming back from a one-game suspension after a red card at the end of last year. You know, Coach Riley, he realizes how important he is to this team. He calls him the heart of this defense. He's the guy who's the main communicator for them. And I'm sure Coach Chad Riley's really happy to have him back, Patty.
Well, no doubt. And Philip Quinton was so good there at the end of last season. He battled some injuries early on. But it's right. He really is that stalwart at the center of the back. And without him against Kentucky, they did really well to fill those gaps, but really happy to have him back.
Pitt getting it into the box. Jackson trying to get in there. Crosses it over to Dexter, who scores! Alexander Dexter puts the Panthers on the board here just 11 minutes into the game.
And we talked about how dynamic Alexander Dexter is, but look at this from Burton Jackson. Getting down that line, he beats Abelnati to the line and cuts a fantastic ball. All Dexter has to do is tap it in, but a fantastic run there from Alexander Dexter, beating his man to the spot and tapping it home to give the Pitt Panthers a 1-0 lead here early in South Bend.
So the Panthers grab the momentum early. After a slow 10 minutes, they see their chance and they take it.
Well, and it's important to note, Chris, we're just talking about how this game has such a slow pace, and yet Pitt has the ability to make you pay in the flash of an eye. That's what we saw there. We saw Jackson showing his dynamic ability down the wing, and the guy we talked about all open, Alexander Dexter, in the absence of Edward Kiza, putting the team on his shoulders and saying, we're here to play, and we are still a force to be reckoned with this year in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah, for sure. And you really saw the speed on that play. I mean, Dexter seemed to – Jackson outran the defense on the opening ball, and then Dexter just outrunning the whole back line into the box, and a great pass by Jackson there. And Pitt once again with possession, trying to get it over to Dexter on the near side, and it's Merkovich who comes down with it for Pitt.
And now it's going to be so interesting to see how this Notre Dame team reacts. They were in control most of the time against Kentucky. That was a tightly contested, scoreless game until Russo got on the board. How can Notre Dame bounce back here early on against Pitt?
Yeah, Notre Dame seems to be picking up the pressure a little bit. Maybe that goal woke them up a little bit as they try to cross it back into the box, but it's headed out by Quinton. Now it's Jackson Walty with the ball. Notre Dame back under control of it. It's Patrick Coleman with it. Gets it over to the middle of the field, and Radovoisa trying to look for McFadden. That's headed away by Pitt. Another turnover here. Notre Dame back with the ball. They slow it down, get it to the back line. As that pass goes out of bounds, it'll be a throw-in for Pitt. As we take another look at that goal.
And it's a good look here because the play starts across that back line of these Pitt Panthers. A fantastic switch of play there from Veljko Petkovic, but this is where the action happens. Jackson gets to the line, puts a fantastic ball across, and all Dexter has to do is tap home there for the early lead.
And a really, like you mentioned, an impressive display here early by Pittsburgh, showing that despite losing their top goal scorer and their offensive leader, they've still got a lot of power in them. As they take their time on the back line once again. It's Washington with Russo putting the pressure on defense for Notre Dame. And Pitt pushes back on offense once again. Gets it to the outside to Jackson. Jackson crosses it in, and it's Farley who boots it away, but that'll be a corner for Pitt.
And this is another good run there from Jackson. Starts with Lawfulson, though. Lawfulson getting forward from that right back position, forcing Notre Dame to make a decision, and a good hard ball cut back across the box there for Pitt.
So it'll be Petkovic taking the corner for the Panthers. He crosses it in. A header gets over, and that one's blocked away. The shot by Matt Bailey. Blocked by Omar. And it's Crivello taking it back for the Panthers. He crosses it in. A header gets to the far post, but Pitt not able to make good contact with it. It'll be a goal kick for Notre Dame as we take another look at that opportunity for Pitt.
And this is a golden opportunity to go 2-0 up for the Pitt Panthers. Crivello does a fantastic job whipping the ball in across the box, and it's the newcomer Matt Bailey just glancing header. Can't quite find that far post, but more good soccer there from the Pitt Panthers, knocking on that Notre Dame doorstep.
Bailey, the senior from Kent Island, Maryland, as we've mentioned multiple times, playing at a position he's not necessarily used to at forward. He's used to that midfielder position. As they try to get it to Crivello on the near side, he's pressured by McFadden. He gets back to Washington. Pitt doing a really good job here of fighting off any pressure that Notre Dame puts on. They've been very patient with their attack, and they've attacked when they've seen an opportunity. As that ball goes all the way back, it'll be a throw-in for Notre Dame. Notre Dame and Pitt fighting for possession, and Pitt will win that battle. And you know, it's interesting here, Patty, because we've talked a lot about Jack Lynn, but I mean Notre Dame, they're losing their they're playing without their top 4 point scorers from last season tonight, with obviously Lynn being out, and then their other 3 top leading point scorer, Dumas, Rea, and Nasheris, graduating after last year. So they're really looking for an identity on offense, looking for somebody to step up here.
Well, I think that's right, and I think they're going to look to Patrick Coleman and Aiden McFadden to be that spark and to light a little bit of a fire underneath this Notre Dame team. Right now, getting pushed so far back into their defensive third, 10 guys in their defensive third, allowing Pitt to go at them time and time again here in the opening 17 minutes.
As Townsend Mayer was in the right place there, he's able to regain possession for Notre Dame, trying to get it to Coleman on the outside. And an important thing to note this half, Patty, is the wind is at Pittsburgh's back. The wind's a bit strong here. How does that impact them in this game right now?
Well, you're seeing its impacts a bit here early on. Notre Dame hasn't quite found the ball on the floor. They haven't been able to string those passes, and they've relied on hitting more longer balls that are getting caught up in the wind, allowing Pitt to continue to heap that pressure on and to push Notre Dame back further and further into their own end.
And it'll be interesting to see if Coach Chad Riley takes a little bit more of a defensive approach, knowing that in the second half, Notre Dame will have the wind at their backs, and they may have a little bit more opportunity on offense.
And it's important here in this first half, though, as we see yet another errant pass, 10-yard ball that misses Abelnadi. Can Notre Dame find the feet of Mo Omar? Can they find Pellegrino, Radavoisa in that midfield and start to link side to side and go at Pitt?
Pitt getting it into the box. Petkovic loses possession, and it's booted away by Notre Dame. Regained by Ordonez, but Walty kicks it ahead and out of bounds. Notre Dame regaining possession here. And yeah, you mentioned the big names. We've been calling the big names that we mentioned in the open a lot for Pitt. You know, Petkovic, Dexter, but for Notre Dame, you know, they haven't really gotten any of their big guys, big offensive guys in the spotlight yet. Speaking of which, Russo with the ball there. Notre Dame will get a throw-in.
Well, and they haven't been able to get those players involved because they haven't had the ball. Every time Notre Dame seems to get possession, they've given the ball away cheaply a lot, and they haven't been able to find that rhythm. We know that they have it, but it's important that they find the ball on the floor and they start to get the ball to the feet of their playmakers and allow them to go at this Pitt back line.
Notre Dame trying to trap Merkovich there, but a nice play by him to keep possession for the Panthers. As they work it back to Computano, who has not been very busy thus far. Gets it over to Loffelson. Loffelson trying to gain possession for the Panthers, fighting with Coleman for it. And a messy, almost messy play there. It looks like Pitt will get a free kick. As we see a replay of that foul there, Patty.
And Loffelson does a good job there. Getting back, getting his body in front of Coleman and a clear shove in the back there. But time and again over the course of this game, watch Jasper Loffelson because he covers so much ground there on the right side for the Pitt Panthers and is an asset both on the back line, but going forward and getting into that attack for Coach Jay Vidovich.
Yeah, and Vidovich identified Loffelson as their best defensive player, the guy who can really take anybody on one-on-one on defense. And you might see it there a little bit that with Patrick Coleman with that shove, maybe a little bit of frustration as he really hasn't been able to get anything going yet. As McFadden's able to box out Merkovich there, regain possession for the Irish. Be Mayer with the throw-in. Can't get it to Russo though. Dexter regains possession for Pitt. Pitt working it along the back line once again. A lot of patience their players are showing as they get it over to Crivello. Crivello to the middle of the field to Merkovich. Merkovich over to Walty. And they reset on offense. Pitt just 4-18-3 all time against Notre Dame, but a good start tonight. Notre Dame leads the series at home 10-2-1. As Campuzano tries to get it forward, but Townsend Mayer able to gain possession for Notre Dame. McFadden trying to do something with it. That one goes out of bounds off of Crivello. So Notre Dame with some offensive possession in the attacking zone. They try to get it into Russo. Russo over to McFadden trying to get into the box. It's deflected. Russo trying to box out the defender, and he does. Notre Dame will get another throw-in. It'll be Mayer on the throw-in. Mayer fires it into the box, but Pitt there to corral it. But Omar's back there, regains possession for Notre Dame. And that's a foul on Pitt there. Notre Dame will get a free kick as it was Abulnadi getting knocked down for the Irish.
And this is a dangerous spot here for Notre Dame as we get a look back at Abulnadi. Does a good job putting his body in between himself and Burton Jackson. Clear foul there for the referee, and an opportunity for Notre Dame to line up to get a good set piece here as we head towards the midway point in the first half.
It'll be McFadden taking the free kick for Notre Dame. Notre Dame loading up the box. Player of note, Philip Quinton, 6'5", tallest player on the team, as they fire it in. Not able to get it to Farley on the far side, and Campuzano able to corral it with ease.
And a disappointing service there from Aiden McFadden. Not able to give the big boys a chance in the box. And yet again, here we see Pitt playing through that back line, very comfortable, sitting on the ball between those center backs, lulling Notre Dame, asking for them to come out of that shell.
As they try to get it forward, but a nice play there by Russo. Notre Dame working it around the far side. It's Pellegrino now with it. Tries to get it into Mayer, but a little too much juice on that ball, and it'll be a goal kick for Pitt. He was looking for Mayer, but Mayer not able to catch up with it. So Notre Dame seems to be getting their footing offensively a little bit. More time in the Pitt offensive zone in these last few minutes than we saw early on in the game. So we are now just over halfway through the first half. Abulnadi trying to get that goal kick. It goes all the way back to Philip Quinton. Passes it back to McLaughlin. McLaughlin booting it forward into a little bit of a dangerous area, but Notre Dame seems to have control. And a foul there on Crivello. Good positioning by McFadden there.
And it's well done there from McFadden. Put his body in between himself and the defender. Allow Notre Dame to take a breath and get out of that shell. See if they can start to link some passes together here in the attacking half.
Notre Dame moving with a little more pace as that pass from Abulnadi is off. Was looking for Coleman, but just didn't have the accuracy there, and Pitt will take the ball back. Pitt once again working it along that back line. Those center backs have just been so important for them thus far. Trying to get it forward to Petkovic there, but good defensive positioning by the Irish, not allowing him to make a really strong run. Now Notre Dame will work it along the back line between Farley and Quinton. As Farley boots it forward, but just a tad too tall for Aiden McFadden, who, unfortunately for the Irish, is not 11 feet tall. As As Washington once again controls the ball on that back line for Pitt. It's now Merkovich with it. Trying to get to the middle of the field, and they do. A nice pass there. Townsend Mayer in a good spot there for Notre Dame, able to cause the turnover. And a sloppy pass there goes all the way back to Campuzano. Jackson Walty now with it for Pitt. And Pitt once again backtracking on offense. Back to those old reliable center backs. Merkovich trying to send it forward to Loffelson, but that was deflected away by Abulnadi. Pitt will get a throw in. And Pitt trying to speed forward once again on offense. It's Matt Bailey with the ball. Gets it out to Loffelson. Loffelson trying to cut it inside. Omar there to stop it, though. And a sloppy pass there. Pitt gets a back shot. And McLaughlin is there for the save. We'll take another look at that shot.
Well, you said it, but a sloppy giveaway there from Radavoisa, and a good save in the end from McLaughlin, getting his body behind that. That ball is skipping along the turf, and a good job to keep it in front of him and keep this game at 1-0.
Yeah, and that goal allowed earlier was McLaughlin's first in his Irish career, so see him recover there with a save. Notre Dame trying to push forward on offense. It's Coleman with it, trying to find some sort of lane, but Pitt just swarming him. Coleman gains possession back, and he sends it over to the middle of the field to Pellegrino. Pellegrino trying to send it on the near side, trying to make his way around this Pitt defense, but Pitt, nice positioning on defense to get the ball away from him, as Bailey now controls the ball, and they send it ahead to Washington, but he's not able to get to it. Notre Dame will be able to slow things down here and stop that Pitt attack. Notre Dame now back at midfield. Matt Bailey putting pressure on defensively for Pitt. Not making things easy for Philip Quinton. As a sloppy giveaway, Petkovic almost had an opportunity there. Sloppy play from Senan Farley, but Notre Dame gets away with one. As Walty tries to control it for Pitt. Patrick Coleman coming back down with it, though. As we take another... There you see Patrick Coleman, junior from Antioch, Illinois. As that one gets all the way back to Campuzano. Notre Dame will regain possession here in the offensive zone. They'll throw it back out to Abulnadi. Notre Dame will take their time here, trying to let the offense develop, trying to make a couple passes just to get in a good position for something to happen for them. And Notre Dame midfield trying to control it here. Notre Dame hasn't really been able to get a strong offensive possession going here. Patty, what does the midfield need to do to kind of set up this offense a little bit better for better opportunities?
Well, I think the difference you're seeing in this game has been the ability of Pitt to find lanes in the midfield and to connect that back line with the front line. For Notre Dame, when their center backs get on the ball, they're looking to feed balls into the midfield to try to link those, and yet Pellegrino and Radavoisa, especially for this Irish team, need to do a better job of finding those lanes in the Pitt midfield, and connecting passes between lines to see if they can start to go at Pitt a bit more.
Coleman racing after it with Loffelson on his back. Loffelson will get called for the foul there. As Notre Dame still with 0 shots in this game. Pitt already with 4, 2 on goal. Looking for something to happen, and it's Omar on the back line with it. Getting it over to Mayer. Mayer trying to find McFadden on a run. Nice ball in by Mayer. McFadden crosses it over. And Computhano was not able to reach out and get that ball, but nobody home for the Irish. As we take another look at that opportunity for Notre Dame.
Right, and this is when the Irish are at their best. Aiden McFadden does a good job getting down that line, asking questions of Computhano. So important that we don't lose sight, Chris. Computhano is a new starter to this Pitt system. He's unproven still, and they're looking a little bit shaky as Aiden McFadden whips a dangerous ball there in the box.
We'll see if McFadden can whip another dangerous ball in the box here on this corner. He crosses it in. That header comes out. It's Pellegrino. He puts it in the back of the net. Notre Dame scores. Michael Pellegrino ties it up here at Alumni Stadium. We take another look at that goal. What happened here, Patty?
Well, Aiden McFadden, first of all, puts a fantastic ball in the box off a corner. It squirts out to Pellegrino, who hits an absolute screamer near post, beating Nico Computhano. I cannot stress to you how hard that is. What a technique there from Michael Pellegrino, smashing home to level this game at once. Game on here in South Bend, Indiana.
What a strong play there by the Irish. And one of those seniors that they lost last year, Felicien Dumas, was so well known for how strong he was on set pieces. But even in his absence, it seems like Notre Dame hasn't lost any slack on set pieces there.
Right, and we talked leading up to the game this week, head coach Chad Riley, and he said he thinks Michael Pellegrino can be one of the best midfielders in the country. You saw why there. The technique to volley that one home near post, fantastic there from the sophomore.
So things all level here with just over 12 minutes here left in the first half. And you know, it's been a half that seems to be mostly dominated possession-wise and chances-wise by the Panthers, but things all even now, and momentum certainly on Notre Dame's side after that goal.
Well, that's right, and I think if the half were to end now, you'd say Notre Dame a bit fortunate to go in 1-1, but that's soccer, and credit to them, because the first time that we saw them build to get into a dangerous spot, Aiden McFadden putting a good ball in the box, winning a corner, and there you have it, 1-1, easy as that. So if Notre Dame can build on this, then they'll be fortunate to get into halftime. As we see another ball into the box. Fortunate to get into halftime, and this is something they can build into the second half going at this Pitt team.
Yeah, Petkovic trying to create another opportunity for Pitt. Pitt trying to find an opportunity now. It's Jackson dribbling it in, but a little out of control there, and it'll be a goal kick for McLaughlin. And another important thing to note, we mentioned earlier the wind, Notre Dame tying it up with the wind blowing against them, and they're going to have the wind on their backs during the second half. As Notre Dame trying to create some pace in their offense now. It's Abdelnadi trying to control it, and it ends up on the feet of Pellegrino. He gets it over to Mayer. Mayer looking to do something with it. Coleman trying to a little bit of a fancy pass there. It deflects out of bounds, but Notre Dame will keep it. Coleman now playing on the near side instead of the far side.
That's right. You see him just flip-flopping there with Aiden McFadden. See if they can get some new matchups and find a little bit of spark here running at that Pitt back line.
As Notre Dame now seems to be the one who are forcing Pitt back on defense. Notre Dame's back line, most of them all the way across midfield. It's Coleman trying to gain control of it. But good defense by Pitt there, just swarming him. Petkovic not able to gain possession at midfield, and Notre Dame has it once again. Abdelnadi resetting back to Quinton. So Omar controls it now. Notre Dame now seemingly controlling the pace of play. As they try to get it along the side to McFadden. McFadden trying to get it over to Roenick. Unable to do so. It looked like a good run from Roenick there, but a nice defensive play by Pitt. So Notre Dame will have another throw-in. McFadden taking it for him. He fires it in. Pitt able to get their head on it. And now battle for possession of the ball. And Pitt comes away with it. They get it back to Computano. And now, with the game being tied up, Patty, what is it important for Jay Vidovich to convey to his team after allowing that goal?
Well, the first half hour, by and large, was fantastic for this Pitt team. They were dominating possession. They looked comfortable on the ball, and they were forcing Notre Dame back. Since that Notre Dame goal, it's kind of flipped, and Notre Dame has found their footing. They're moving the ball a lot better, and they're pushing Pitt back. So really a back-and-forth game here, and seemingly we're starting to see both teams playing better soccer and going at one another. Only going to be more entertaining as we head into the next 50, 53 and plus minutes.
Yeah, 8.5 left here in the first half, and it'll be interesting to see with Notre Dame getting more opportunities if that Pitt counterattack can come into play a little bit more. Aside from that goal, Notre Dame has done a pretty good job of limiting Pitt running back at them after attacks. So Alexander Dexter tries to control it, but a sloppy pass. Radavoisa trying to come down with it. He does. Fires it ahead to McFadden, but that ball just beyond his reach. Pitt will get a throw in there. Pitt a little bit fortunate that that pass was off because McFadden had real estate on that far side of the field.
Right, it's a good look there from Radavoisa, trying to slip one in behind the Pitt back line. Looked almost like McFadden wasn't prepared for it, wasn't looking for that run, but better there from Radavoisa in the midfield.
Crivello now controls it, gets it into Petkovic, and a foul there by Pellegrino, so it'll be a free kick for Pitt. Four shots for Pitt, just one for Notre Dame, but that one shot was a goal, and that's really all that matters, that is this score remains tied right now. As it'll be Jackson and Petkovic on the free kick. As Jackson sends it into the box, but that one goes out of bounds. It'll be a free kick for Notre Dame. Just under 7 minutes left to play here in the first half. Keegan McLaughlin, the senior goalie from Zanesville, Ohio, boots it forward out of bounds. McLaughlin with one save thus far in this game. Pitt now slowing it down once again, working along that back line between Washington and Ordonez. Ordonez trying to get it over to Crivello. Crivello heads it forward to Dexter. Farley able to control possession for Notre Dame as they try to get it forward once again. And it's Petkovic with it, trying to get it into the box. Nice play there by Omar to deflect it out. Now it's Merkovic with it. He gets it over to Crivello. Pitt trying to find their way into the box. Quinton there that time to head it away for Notre Dame. They send it forward once again, and nobody home that time, so it'll be another free kick for Notre Dame. Excuse me, a goal kick. So, Patty, just over 5 minutes left here in the first half. I mean, what do both teams need to do before going into the locker room to kind of set the tone for the second half?
Well, if Notre Dame could start to find their rhythm a bit more, we saw in the few minutes after their goal, they looked better, and now it seems as though they continue to lack that quality in midfield to connect passes between lines and to really test this Pitt Panthers back line. On the flip side, Pitt has started to find their footing again, and they're looking for Kiza, and they're trying to ask questions down those wide areas where they are at their best. So Coach Jay Vidovich will want them to continue to feed the ball into Jackson, into Dexter, let them run at the Notre Dame back line and see if they can find a goal here in the last 4.5 minutes.
Pitt now pressuring a little bit on offense. Back line at midfield. They try to get it over to Dexter, and they do. Dexter one-on-one against Mayer. Crosses it in. That one will go out of bounds. No, it looks like Notre Dame got possession of it. Omar with it now. So another good chance for Pitt, but unable to convert that time.
And again, Chris, that's just what we're talking about. Finding the feet of Alexander Dexter and letting Crevillo get around him, slotting balls down that line. And this is a really dangerous ball whipped across by Crevillo. Isn't able to find the feet of Jackson there in the box. But that's when this Pitt Panthers team is at their best, finding the wide areas, putting dangerous balls in, and asking questions of those Notre Dame defenders.
As Pitt puts it into the box once again, McLaughlin able to punch that one away. A nice ball into the box there, but good positioning by Keegan McLaughlin. And Pitt will reset. Pitt with some good opportunities in these last 2 minutes, trying to take the lead going into the half. But Notre Dame able to keep it level here right now, as they're seemingly putting on a little bit more pressure here. It's Ronick, Coleman, and Pellegrino putting on the pressure for Notre Dame, but Pitt able to get away from it, and now Merkovich leads the charge upfield. He gets it over to Bailey. Excuse me, that's Loffelson. Jackson now working it around on the far side. Good defense by Abul Nadi, though, not letting him get anything. And that'll be a corner for Pitt. Notre Dame's already converted off of one corner. We'll see if Pitt's able to convert here. Petkovic sends it into the box. It goes up. McLaughlin able to punch that one away once again. As we'll take another look at that corner here, Patty.
And it's another good service into the box, asking questions of that back line. And in the end, it's Keegan McLaughlin with a hand to it, but not exuding confidence there with the palm, pushing it out for yet another set piece here for the Pitt Panthers.
So it'll be Jackson taking this corner for Pitt. Jackson's been very active thus far in this game, already an assist as he sends it into the box. And that one's headed to the left side of the goal. Notre Dame survives the Pitt attack once again with just over a minute left here in the first half, as we take another look at that second corner kick for the Panthers.
And it's good ball into the box, finding the head there of Ordonez, but Philip Quinton staying on his mark, making it tough there for the Panthers center back, and no blood there on the corner.
So McLaughlin will boot it forward. And a foul there on Notre Dame. That one will go on Pellegrino. So Pitt, with just 40 seconds left here, trying to get it in. They'll stop play here.
All right, now you see the big two center backs for Pitt getting into the box. Only 25 seconds left. Putting numbers in the box, allowing for one last chance here for the Panthers.
It'll be Loffelson taking the free kick. He'll send it into the box. And that one's headed by Ordonez. Nothing on it, though. And with 10 seconds left in this half, it looks like we'll go to the half tied at 1 as both teams walking off the field. And that'll be the end of the first half here at Alumni Stadium. A good one at that, with both teams with 1 goal. An impressive first half. So there you see Dexter, who scored the lone goal for Pitt. So at the half, Dexter put one in for Pitt, Pellegrino put one in for Notre Dame, and we are tied at 1 with 45 to go.
A threat to score, turned away by Leckie. Neer keeps coming. Neer ends it. Welcome back to the lineup, Jack Neer. We will have a new #1 in the country on Monday.
Notre Dame will escape. They'll get one more chance. Morrison, can they do it again? Morrison, shot, score! They do it again! Can you believe it? The luck of the Irish strikes again.
15 seconds left. Irish with one more shot at it. The fans want a solid bid here. This one served in, almost was able to get it to go, and the Irish are going to win.
Now it is Gallagher. Gallagher with a shot, and he scores! John Gallagher, with 17 seconds to play, has given Notre Dame the lead, and in all likelihood the win over the #2 team in the country. John Gallagher, the left foot. Hilbert gave it every effort he could, but into the net goes John Gallagher, and a great goal to give the Irish the lead late here from Alumni Stadium.
Heidi Anaheim popped on the scene, flips the ball ahead. Notre Dame looking for a 2-goal lead, and they got it. Caitlin Gargan, and Notre Dame scores twice in a matter of seconds here in the first overtime, and has built themselves a huge 2-goal lead. And for the first time in 9 tries, Notre Dame has come to the Carrier Dome, and they're leaving with a win in overtime. Notre Dame 12, Syracuse 11, as the Irish have pulled the huge upset tonight in Syracuse.
Heads over to Diedrich with 10 seconds to go. Diedrich makes a man miss. They'll need to fire off a shot quickly. McCabe does just that. He gets it into the box and into the back of the net. The Irish walk it off, and Notre Dame is headed to the Elite Eight.
Inside the final 2 minutes, is it Carr? No, it's Eldave! It's Andy Eldave! 10-9 Notre Dame.
Kavanaugh senses the double. Keeps coming. Kavanaugh, ball game! Maddie just iced it for the Irish, and they're heading to Baltimore.
Irish got to get the shots off here. They do. Save made. Rebound to the wall middle. Score! The Irish are going to the championship game.
Callie Ritterwall had 3 goals coming into this hockey game. He has 2 this evening. Cinderella lives. The Giant goes home.
Sidney Dawes. Oh! It's in the net! It's in the net! It's in the net! A goal! Notre Dame! 1-0, the final in favor of the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. They are the 1995 champions. Congratulations to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. It is their day.
this warm late September evening as Notre Dame and Pitt tied at 1 after one half here at Alumni Stadium. And Patty, what a half it was, as we saw some great opportunities for both teams, but Pitt here especially early on.
Well, that's right. It was the Pitt Panthers who came out with their foot on the gas, and they really took this game to Notre Dame in the opening half hour. You saw early Burton Jackson getting to the line, cutting it across there for his man Alexander Dexter, just a tap home, getting in front of Townsend Meyer. And they kept pushing there. You see another good ball into the box by Creveil. A bad giveaway here from Renovosa. Leads to Belko Petkovic asking questions of McLaughlin. But here was the answer for Notre Dame. It's a good ball into the box. And it just falls for the sophomore Michael Pellegrino, who smashes home his first of the year to level the game up here for the Irish.
Yeah, what a goal it was. And here as we look at some of the first half stats from the game, Pitt seemingly dominating possession on offense, also a little bit more physical play, but the score tied. What do you see from this?
Well, I think the stat line is fair and tells the story of the game. Pitt was the aggressor. They had the better of the play, but credit to Notre Dame. They got their one chance. They evened the game, and we're heading into the last 45 minutes with all to play for.
Yeah, for sure. And Notre Dame Pitt will be back after this break for the second half of this game. Teams tied at 1. Back inside Alumni Stadium for the start of the second half. And it was a strong opening week for Notre Dame. Their opening game, a 1-0 win against Kentucky, in which freshman Daniel Russo named Offensive Player of the Week and goalie Keegan McLaughlin named Defensive Player of the Week. And there you see conference play beginning on Saturday. NC State playing Duke. This game here today between Notre Dame and Pitt, technically not a conference game. So exciting stuff coming up here on the ACC network. And there you see ACC men's soccer a little bit different this year. Patty, once upon a time you were a player in the ACC playing soccer for Virginia. What are this different outlook for the ACC? What's to note about it?
Well, it's an exciting dry run for potentially a full year season for men's college soccer. Being able to play only once a week allows for more time for practicing, development of players, less missed class time, and potentially a better product on the field. So exciting to be out here, exciting to have good soccer on display week in and week out in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and hopefully this final 45 here that we're witnessing tonight is as good as the first one.
Yeah, and you mentioned that year-round soccer. That's something that coaches within the NCAA have been fighting for years now. And these new protocols may give it a little bit of a more of a chance of happening. This season almost could be a dry run for that.
Well, I think it's a fantastic idea, and the ability for young men to develop in college soccer as soccer players, the ability not to miss as much class time traveling midweek, and to really delve deeper into their development, less injuries due to more rest time. And so if you're asking me, it's a fantastic idea. We're going to get to see it here in 2020, 2021 due to the pandemic, and so perhaps silver linings here for the ACC.
Pitt now playing with the wind against them. We saw that have a little bit of an impact in the first half as they try to get it across the field there. Notre Dame regaining possession. Pitt now on an early attack. They've got numbers in the box. They cross it in. Unable to convert there. It looked like it was Bailey and then Jackson who had the opportunity, but Notre Dame gets bailed out, as we'll take another look at that opportunity for Pitt.
And Pitt asking some questions here yet again early in the second half. First with Petkovic and a whiff, and Burton Jackson not doing much better, but really promising stuff from Pitt, getting the ball to Dexter wide, finding him in those areas, and allowing him to serve a dangerous ball into the box.
There's a foul there on Pitt. Notre Dame will get a free kick out of it. And Notre Dame, a team really that was underestimated coming into the season, picked to finish last in their division by the coaches. I mean, Patty, as a player, does that really put a chip on your shoulder and affect the way you play?
I think to an extent, as we see a good run there from McFadden and a good ball into the box leading to a corner, but you can't put too much into those votes. So we saw that last place in the coaches poll for the ACC, and yet top 5 in the coaches poll nationally. Of course, only the ACC and Sun Belt playing, but I think you just got to focus on your product, making sure you're ready for the season.
McFadden taking a corner now for the Irish. He sends that one sky high, and Farley trying to get ahead on it, but he can't. And it'll be a goal kick for Campuzano. As we take a look at that preseason poll, and there you see Virginia picked to finish at the top of the division with Notre Dame all the way at the bottom. But head coach Chad Riley said about it, at the end of the day, you've just got to prove yourselves. And I think that's the attitude that you'll see from this Notre Dame Fighting Irish team.
I think that's right. And at the end of the day, who cares? It depends who's lifting the trophy at the end of the day. We've already seen Pitt putting on a shellacking of Louisville last week, 5-0, and Notre Dame a good performance against Kentucky. So a lot of soccer left to be played.
As Pitt sends this one to the far side of the field, it's Dexter with it, trying to get it into Petkovic, sends it over to the middle. But able to corral it there was Ethan O'Brien, who gets his first playing time of the game. So Pitt on the attack here early in the second half. The wind not seeming to be too big of a factor for them. As Notre Dame now works it along their back line. Farley trying to send it ahead for Coleman. Pitt able to corral it. And they send it to Dexter on a run. Trying to counterattack here. He's guarded by Mayer. Pitt resetting a little bit, sending it over to the middle of the field, and it's Roenick there. Stopping it for Notre Dame. Notre Dame able to regain possession there.
And that's well done there from Simon Roenecke. Holding up, allowing the midfield to get around him and building into this attack for Notre Dame.
Aiden McFadden now with it. He's got the assist for Notre Dame's lone goal on the game. Pass off the corner to Pellegrino. As Pitt early trying to establish their counterattack, but that ball has too much pace on it. Dexter not there for it, and Quinton able to regain possession for Notre Dame.
Well, and as Notre Dame builds into this game, they cannot afford to give away cheap balls in the midfield, as we saw from Aiden McFadden there, because as we've talked about time and again, this is a Pitt Panthers team that can hit you on the counter and do so quickly. And so giving the ball away in the middle of the field is such a dangerous thing to do, but especially against this Pitt team.
Pitt trying to put it in the box. Dexter with it, trying to pass it in, but nobody home. And that's where this Pitt team might miss Edward Kiza a little bit. That speed and in the box present not there, and Notre Dame trying to counterattack now. As Coleman goes down, but no foul. He wanted one, but not going to get the call from the ref, and Pitt now back with the ball. And, you know, we talked about Kiza. Coach Vidovich called Kiza and Dexter the yin and yang of this team. He said Dexter could find Kiza in the dark. And that chemistry missing between those two is something that this Panther team's really going to miss.
Oh, you're right. And as we talked about before, Edward Kiza is likely the best forward in the ACC and perhaps the country. So it's not going to be an overnight process to replace him. But Pitt's done a good job tonight. They've found opportunities. They've been dangerous, and they will work to get even better as the season goes along.
As Farley and Loffelson racing after the ball. Farley wins the race, and then O'Brien gets pushed over. It'll be a free kick for Notre Dame. Nice defensive play there by Farley, not allowing Loffelson to get the ball. And also not fouling him there. So Notre Dame will reset once again and work it along that back line. Mayer trying to send it forward for Pellegrino. It's now Roenick racing after it. Flag is up for offsides. Merkovich taking it in the middle of the field, and Pitt resetting once again. Trying to send it forward for Dexter. They've been sending him on a lot of runs early in this second half. Clearly, Coach Jay Vidovich saw something at halftime that he may have liked in terms of Dexter working that far side of the field. So it'll be a throw-in for Notre Dame. As Michael Lynch comes into the game for Patrick Coleman. Coleman's had a pretty big role thus far for Notre Dame in terms of just fighting for the ball and trying to gain possession for Notre Dame, trying to create some offensive opportunities. We'll see how that changes now with Michael Lynch in the game. Lynch, the senior from Cocoa Beach, Florida. As Petkovic able to gain possession for this Pitt team. Pitt slowing it down once again. Patty, both teams a little bit slow to start this second half. You know, what is it usually like in the locker room at halftime in terms of coaches trying to strategize and get their teams more opportunities in a second half after a first half of play?
Well, I think for Notre Dame, this start to the second half has been better soccer-wise. They found the ball a little bit more. Mo Omar is dropping a little deeper, getting touches on the ball, and they're drawing Pitt out more than they did in the first half. So really more promising stuff from the Irish. For Pitt, there wasn't a lot to change going into halftime. They played well in the first half. They were probably a little bit unfortunate not to be leading going into halftime. And so more of the same, which is what we're seeing in the second half. Difference being Notre Dame has been more quality, and we're seeing a little bit more end-to-end. So the game is certainly building, and both teams with all to play for here.
You see Pitt controlling possession right now, as they did for most of the first half. Trying to send it in, and it's Dexter on the far side who races for it. Beats Townsend Mayer to the ball. Crosses it in, and that finds the back of the net. What a goal from Pitt off of seemingly defensive mistake from Notre Dame. As we take another look at that one, nobody seemed to see it coming for the Irish.
And it's a bit of a calamity of errors here for the Irish. Starts off with Philip Quinton, the stalwart of defense, with a whiff there that leads to Dexter getting the ball. Townsend Mayer does a good job in getting back and challenging Alexander Dexter, but too shifty there for the Pitt winger, and ultimately unlucky for Senan Farley. Comes off his right foot, and Pitt right back in front. But again, this Pitt Panthers team is so dangerous in those wide areas that if you give them an opportunity, they will make a meal of it, just as we saw in that instance.
So Senan Farley, the senior defenseman, the grad student defenseman, with the own goal that puts Pitt back on top. And I mean, you know, that'll be labeled as an own goal, but really a good play by Dexter there to put it in a good spot and give Pitt a chance to put it in the back of the net.
When we talked at the beginning of the game about the role that Dexter was going to have to play in this game in the absence of Edward Kiza. He's done all that and more. When he's gotten the ball, he's looked dangerous. He's been running at the Fighting Irish. And when this Pitt Panthers team has had opportunities in this game, it's come from the feet of Alexander Dexter. So good on him, and we'll see here how the Irish respond.
McFadden sends it into the box. Campuzano didn't look to get a hand on it, so it'll be a goal kick for him. And yet Dexter now with a goal and an assist for the Panthers. You know, Coach Jay Vidovich, you know, he talked to us about Alexander Dexter before this game and how they kind of found him out of nowhere. You know, they're obviously recruiting all their guys, but Dexter was a guy who they found and they really seem to love, and rightfully so. I mean, he's made all the difference today here for Pitt.
Well, Dexter, a Brooklyn native and a guy that they found. at a military camp for soccer players in Germany. But it just goes to show you that the job that Jay Vidovich and his staff has done over the past 4 or 5 years in building this Pitt program has to do a lot with recruiting. His assistants, Rich Costanzo, Mike Bohonic, those guys are pros, and they know what they're doing and they know what they're building. And you're starting to see the fruits of their labor here in 2020 as a real contender in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah, Coach Jay Vidovich obviously done a great job with this Pitt program. Kind of a legend in the college soccer coaching realm. I mean, spent a great amount of time at Wake Forest, won 5 ACC titles there, 5 ACC Coach of the Year awards, and now he's come to Pitt, which was a program that really didn't have much going for it when he got here, but in just 5 years, he's really turned this program around, brought them to their first NCAA tournament win last year. As Pitt tries to get something going on offense again, Dexter with it in the box once again. He gets it back to Walty. Walty pass for Loffelson. Loffelson able to track it down and sends it out of bounds. But yeah, Coach Vidovich leading Pitt to their first NCAA tournament win last season. But I mean, he told us, as Notre Dame's able to get that one out of the box, he told us that Pitt's not a team anymore that's just trying to get into the tournament. Their aspirations go beyond that. Their aspirations go for ACC titles, national titles. This is a team that believes that it can contend with the best of the best.
Well, and rightfully so. You know, if you're a soccer program in the ACC, you should want to be a perennial powerhouse, and you should want to be challenging for College Cup appearances year in and year out. We saw it last year with 10, 11. I mean, this year, 11 teams playing in the fall. All 11 are expected to make the NCAA tournament, and so Pitt among those, and one of the top tier in the ACC this fall.
Notre Dame had numbers for a moment, but McFadden not on the same page there as Abulnadi. As there you see Pitt's head coach Jay Vidovich in his 5th season with the team. And yeah, you see that quote about their last season. They basically proved themselves that they're a real contender for the national title. And they played in one of their scrimmages, they played Wake Forest, got edged out 3-2. But I mean, Wake Forest for the past couple of years, one of the top teams in the country, and Pitt went toe-to-toe with them.
Well, and I think that Pitt will challenge Wake Forest in the title race this year. Wake's a team that Bobby Muse has done a fantastic job with. Perennial powerhouse in the College Cup, if not every year, every other year. And so for Pitt to go toe-to-toe with them for 90 minutes, that's a huge confidence boost. And you're seeing that not only tonight, but in last week's performance against Louisville.
Notre Dame trying to create an opportunity offensively. McFadden sends it over to Mayer. Pitt able to regain possession, and now it's Dexter on the counterattack. He's got some pace behind him, but good positioning there from Farley to gain possession back from the Irish and stop the Pitt counterattack. And there you see a graphic there about ACC dominance. I mean, we've touched upon it a little bit, Patty, but I mean, the ACC has been the top dog in terms of conferences in college soccer over the past couple of years. There you see 9 schools played in the College Cup, 13 national titles. I mean, you played in the ACC. What sets this conference apart? What makes it so competitive?
Well, it's just the level of play week in and week out. You see the graphic there with 9 schools playing the College Cup, 5 winning national titles, and 13 titles as a conference as a whole. But really where the quality is the matchups every Friday night. We saw in 2019 Wake Forest, Virginia in that College Cup, and yet it could have been any one of 10 teams in the ACC. You will talk to coaches around the conference, and they'll say, in many ways, it's harder to win the ACC tournament than the NCAA tournament, just because of the level of play of every single team, and it's a grind. And so it'll be interesting to see here in 2020 with the split seasons and only playing one game a week, what that does to the quality of play. In my opinion, it's only going to raise it, and we're only going to be treated to even better soccer here in the ACC this year.
Yeah, and Jay Vidovich was one of those people who, when we talked to him this week, he talked about how the ACC is almost tougher than winning that national title. Jackson looks to be down on the field right now, holding his head. Players surround him here.
And just a coming together there in the corner with Abulnadi. Not a lot in it for me, but definitely it looks like maybe a hand to the face there for Jackson.
As Jackson remains down on the field, medical assistants coming out for him. Both teams maybe get a moment to catch their breath here as they tend to Jackson on the field. Jackson's been so crucial thus far in this game. Assisted on the first goal for Pitt and has really just all around been someone who's been making plays. He's been all over the field. Been taking set pieces for him.
And you get a look there, Pitt players getting a little bit of liquids. Jay Vidovich taking this break with 28 minutes left as somewhat of a timeout, doing some coaching, some tactical analysis, and getting his team set as they head into the final 28 minutes with a goal lead.
And what do you think Vidovich is telling his team right now?
Well, I think they have to be smart. They have to pick and choose their times to go forward, to leave themselves exposed. They've come out, they've had a good 17 minutes building on that first half, but this is a dangerous Notre Dame team. They don't want to expose themselves and allow Notre Dame to steal one back on the counter, because as dangerous as Pitt is on the counter, Notre Dame can go right back at you, and they have the weapons to make you pay fast.
So as Jackson stands on the sideline, Pitt looks ready to go here as they'll take the free kick. They'll have a chance to send one into the box here. Tallest guy on the field right now for either team is Philip Quinton at 6'5". As it's Merkovich and Petkovic ready to take the free kick for the Panthers, the Serbian duo. As Petkovic sends it in. McLaughlin couldn't retain it, but Notre Dame able to get it out there. Notre Dame catches a break as McLaughlin was not able to cleanly handle that one, and that one was loose in the box for a moment.
And a nervy moment there at the back for Notre Dame with McLaughlin with a punch, and the Pitt Panthers players shouting, screaming, yelling for the center referee to give a penalty. Perhaps that ball careened off a Notre Dame hand. Hard to know, and we keep playing.
So Notre Dame catches another break, and the deficit remains at 1 for them. As we mentioned, McLaughlin, 4 career starts before this game, hadn't allowed a goal in any of them, but this new and improved Pitt Panthers team has really challenged him tonight, scoring 2 goals and having the opportunity for a couple more. As they send it forward for Petkovic. Now looking for Dexter on the far side. Dexter challenged by Mayer. That one gets into the box, but able to be headed away by Quinton. And Pitt will reset at midfield. Pitt playing with a lot of pace right now, but that one's taken away. Now Notre Dame back on the counterattack. Omar in the middle of the field with it, sends it over to O'Brien. Now McFadden working with it. Notre Dame will send it back out. Pitt putting on the pressure right now. As Bailey slips up there, Notre Dame gets a little bit of breathing room. Lawfulson able to get ahead on that ball, but nobody on the receiving end for Pitt. Now it'll be McFadden trying to make something happen for Notre Dame. Dame resetting with Abdelnadi. Abdelnadi trying to send it in there to the box. Mayer racing for it, but not able to get there, and Pitt will have another throw-in with just under 26 minutes left to play in this game. Abdelnadi, the sophomore from Leawood, Kansas, got a lot of playing time last year as a freshman. And despite being only a sophomore on this team, he gets a lot of playing time for this team as Jackson comes back in. A good sight if you're a Pitt fan right now. He's been so crucial thus far, so Pitt gets one of their key members back from injury. As it'll be another throw in here for Notre Dame. Burton Jackson, only a freshman from France. Part of a large international presence on this Pitt team. As Omar sends it into the box. But nobody home once again for the Irish. And it'll be another free kick for Campuzano.
And it's better from Notre Dame in the build-up. Getting the ball wide to Abdelnadi, having him run it at that back line and ultimately slip a ball for McFadden, who finds Omar. A ball by Omar that all goes for naught. But still, if you're Chad Riley, that's a positive sign. They're starting to find their legs. They're starting to move the ball a little bit better and ask questions of Pitt in the attacking third.
As Coach Riley puts the freshman back in the game, it's Russo and Radavoisa back in the game for Notre Dame. And a sloppy play from Pitt there, but Irish not able to do anything with it.
And a sloppy play indeed there from the center back Ordonez, giving one cheaply away to Michael Lynch, who isn't able to challenge Campuzano. But those are the kind of chances that when you go back after the game and you look at the film, you're going to want back, because that is a sloppy giveaway in the back there from Arturo Ordonez.
Yeah, fortunately for Pitt, Notre Dame not able to do anything with it. Still just one shot on goal for Notre Dame, 2 overall. That's compared to Pitt's 7 shots with 3 on goal. It's Notre Dame trying to send it forward, but good positioning there for Pitt. Send it back to Campuzano as he boots it out of bounds. It'll be Abdelnadi on the throw-in. You mentioned, seems like Coach Riley's trying to get Abdelnadi involved a little bit more offensively, setting things up for him. As Notre Dame just doesn't seem to be on the same page in all places right now. A lot of passes with nobody on the receiving end. And you know, Patty, we've talked about it a little bit, but I mean, a lot of miscommunication from Notre Dame in this game, some from Pitt, and you know, that could go back to lack of time training in the offseason due to the pandemic. The team hasn't had as much time as they're used to together before the season has started. You know, how does that impact the team? We've seen some of the impact thus far, but mentally, physically, what does that do?
Well, I think it's a good point, and we talk about the college soccer season and the ability perhaps to go to a full year. But as it stands now, the spring is your time to develop. It's your time to come together as a team, to find your identity and to really get better. And each of these teams has had that cut short. And so with shortened preseasons, with all the distractions, I think we might be seeing a little bit of the fruits of that. You know, both of these teams missing simple passes, not able to find their rhythms. And Pitt certainly has been better in that respect. But Notre Dame's a team that is going to live on their ability to play through midfield, to play attractive brand of soccer, to knock the ball around. And tonight, they've just been a split second off and not been able to find that ball. It's something that'll come in time, and I wouldn't be too worried if I was their coaching staff, but that is certainly an effect that this pandemic has had on teams across the country, and here you're seeing tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of that sloppy play, Campuzano playing with it risky in the box there, almost giving it away to the pressure, is now Jackson in the box with it for Pitt. Crosses it over, but nobody there. Dexter not making the run on that play, so Jackson's pass comes up empty, and Notre Dame benefits once again. Pitt another opportunity as we see here.
And nervy moments here at the back. You see Abdelnaty looking for a foul, but yet again, Jackson doing what he does best, pushing that ball to the end line and knocking a ball across. In this case, nobody to get on the end of it, but another dangerous chance for these Pitt Panthers.
Yeah, and Dexter looked to be who he intended to hit there, but didn't look like Dexter was ready for it.
And you know, one of the things that you're seeing and that we've seen all night has been the ability of Pitt to get end line and to put dangerous balls across the box. The difference between this game and the 5-0 beating that they put on Louisville has been their ability to knock the ball in the goal, and that has a lot to do with the lack of the center forward in Edward Kiza, their goal scorer. And so as this season builds, can Coach Vidovich and his staff find someone to fill that void, to get on the end of this quality service from both Dexter and Jackson, because this is a really dangerous team, and they're creating the opportunities and have the ability to be putting home more and more goals on their opponents.
Yeah, and you mentioned certainly a learning experience for this Pitt team. Is, you know, we learned just an hour before tonight's game that Pitt was going to be without Kiza, as that ball into the box just over the head of Dexter. But yeah, I mean, you got to imagine Pitt couldn't have found out too long ago that he was out either. So certainly an adjustment, trying to figure out who's going to step up for him here. As Notre Dame gets kind of a lucky corner there. So they'll have an opportunity to send it into the box. Their first goal came off of a corner, off of a beautifully curled ball from Aiden McFadden that found the right foot of Michael Pellegrino, who was able to just boot it in the back of the net with quite a strike, as you see there. Loffelsend, who's been a key defensive contributor thus far for Pitt, down on the field right now. They certainly don't want to lose him.
And good news for the Pitt Panthers there, with Loffelsend getting up and jogging off. Just a little bit of a clash with Senan Farley there in the corner on that last service, but he looks to be okay and jogging back into the play here.
So it'll be Coleman taking this free kick, or this corner kick, excuse me, for the Irish. McFadden took it on the one goal they scored. As Loffelsend jogs back into play. And now he's in the box. Coleman sends it in. Up top, header. And that one goes just to the left of the post. It was Farley there for the Irish. Notre Dame will have another corner here as we take a look at that close chance.
That ball just hangs up there a bit, and it's in the end it's well done there from Cravillo, but Senan Farley on the back post lurking.
As McFadden sends another corner in, that one headed away. A large cluster of players, and Pitt able to clear the danger away. So Notre Dame with quite possibly their best chance of the second half thus far, but Pitt able to fight them off.
And you get the sense that it's about time for Notre Dame to start coming out of their shell, to start throwing a few more numbers forward in search of that tying goal. 18 minutes left, plenty of time, but you're going to have to start to ask questions of Pittsburgh.
Notre Dame now with 4 corners compared to Pitt's 3. And putting on the pressure defensively. Radovoisa not able to corral it. And it's Loffelsend now with it. He's fouled by Radovoisa.
And I think Radovoisa is a little bit hard done there from the referee. It's well done from the freshman to get back to challenge Loffelsend here. He does well to put his body in between Loffelsend and the ball there, and for me, that's no foul, and well done from the freshman, but we play on nonetheless.
Nice defensive play there by Abdelnaty on Jackson. Excuse me, that was Patty Burns, the freshman. Seeing his first playing time of the day. So Pitt trying to fight off this Notre Dame pressure on offense. Sends it over to Matt Bailey. Bailey fighting for it, able to win it from Quinton. Sends it into the box, over to Jackson, who scores! Jackson in the middle of the field for it, and Pitt takes a 2-goal lead with just under 17.5 minutes to play here in this game. As we take another look at that third goal for the Panthers.
And Burton Jackson, have a day for the freshman. It seems like a bit of deja vu yet again. Pitt getting to the end line. This time it's Matt Bailey. He does so well to cut a ball across the box. And Burton Jackson, right spot, right time, makes no mistake with that left foot, putting it back across the goal. Nothing that McLaughlin can do. And 3-1 to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Jackson, we saw him go down with an injury earlier, but Patty, he looks just fine to me now. Beautiful strike there from him, and Pitt now with the 3-1 lead. Comfortable with 17 minutes to go left here in this second half.
And Jackson has been the most dangerous player on the field all day, and so really an earned goal there for the freshman. He's done well all night, and getting in the box, getting in a good spot, and finding his goal to maybe seal this game for the Pitt Panthers.
We've talked a lot about that dynamic duo of Kiza and Dexter that Pitt is now missing out on, but Jackson seems to be filling that slot. He's been all over the field for this Pitt Panther team. He's been playing really well for him. As Pitt still controlling possession, up 3-1.
And good on Matt Bailey. You know, he's a senior. He's filling in a spot that he's not normally accustomed to playing, in a role that he's filling in for a player who may be the most talented in the ACC. And he found a way to get his name on the score sheet in that assist column and build some confidence as Pitt builds into their campaign.
And Patty, Notre Dame now down 2 goals with under 16 to go. What kind of adjustments does Chad Riley have to make to try to have some last minute goals to get back into this game for the Irish?
Well, they're going to have to throw numbers forward. They're going to have to ask more questions of Pitt. They're going to have to take some more chances, because if you can get a goal here in the next 5-7 minutes, you're going to be in you're going to have a shot at competing to tie this game up. But right now, Notre Dame is a little bit too stagnant. They're dropping a little bit too deep, and they're going to have to start to press Pitt further in their half.
But despite that, Pitt still maintaining possession. It's Lawfulson with it, trying to send it ahead, but Patty Burns is there. So that'll be a free kick for Pitt. Foul on Notre Dame there. With under 15 to go now. And just a reminder, today's game, despite it being played between 2 ACC schools, is not technically an ACC game. There you see there the ACC men's soccer format for this season. And yeah, additional games in and out of conference allowed. So this game technically does not have any bearing on the ACC standings, but still has bearing on their overall record for the season.
Well, that's right. And Notre Dame playing 6 conference game. They'll play Louisville twice as well, and both those games will count. So just some nuance to the scheduling this fall, and we're certainly grateful that they're playing. And for Notre Dame, this can be a lot of lessons learned against an opponent that they will travel to Pittsburgh and play later in the year that will count towards those standings. So these two teams will certainly become quite familiar with each other, and hopefully the second meeting is as entertaining as the first one has been.
Yeah, and as you saw in that graphic, the division's divided up by North and South now, which is a very interesting change. And Coach Vidovich kind of talked to us about that this week, how he would like to have that diversity of play that the Southern teams give, but it's necessary with these COVID protocols to limit travel on that. As Notre Dame clearly putting a lot more pressure on now. They know that time is against them right now as they get it into Radovoisa. Notre Dame will have a throw in here. Patty, Pitt this game has had a lot of success going in from the sides and crossing it in. Notre Dame not as much. Does that have to do with speed, you say, or just the way that they're approaching their attack?
Well, I think there's a lot of similarities in the way that these two teams play, and they both rely on the wingers getting forward, getting at the opponent's back line, and putting in quality service. The difference in this game has been played through the midfield and their ability to feed good service, as you see a little bit of a shove there from Aiden McFadden, but the ability of the midfield to feed service into those wingers' feet and allow them to do what they do best, and that's run at back lines. We've seen that from Pitt in Jackson and in Dexter, and we really haven't seen it from Notre Dame. Both Coleman and McFadden haven't gotten the ball in those areas and haven't played a huge role in this game.
Pitt now working it through the midfield once again. Over to Jackson on the near side. Jackson now trying to make a run with it. Challenged by Omar and McFadden. Pitt slowing it down now. They know that they can take their time with just under 12 minutes to go here in a 2-goal lead. And Notre Dame really not putting too much pressure on thus far in the second half. And really in the first half, Pitt's really dominated possession this whole game.
And this is where I was referencing. Notre Dame has got to start to come out of their shell, and they've got to advance their line of confrontation to put the Pitt Panthers under a little bit of pressure in the back, because they are so comfortable right now just keeping the ball, playing it through their back line, and running out the clock.
Yeah, Pitt not running out the clock here, though. They've got a little bit of numbers here as they send it into the box, but nobody there. Patty Burns will be the first one to get to it. Notre Dame having a lot of trouble putting anything together here offensively. As Radovoisa got held up there by Merkovich. Notre Dame will have a free kick here. Notre Dame just trying to get anything going here to cut into this lead and give themselves a chance. It's a little bit of a desperation throw into McFadden, works, but he's not able to get a clean touch on the ball. It'll be a goal kick for Campitano. Pitt doing a good job of maintaining possession right now when they have the ball. And I spoke too soon on that one as they lose the ball there. But Pitt now gaining it back. It's Merkovich in the middle of the field with it. Pitt once again with numbers. Notre Dame trying to get back to stop them. They send it into Dexter. Dexter crosses it. Quinton there to stop that one, though. Dexter regains possession. Dexter trying to get it into the box, trying to set up a teammate for an opportunity. Good defense there by Notre Dame, but Pitt will get a corner out of that one. And Pitt, despite being up 2 goals and despite Notre Dame trying to put any sort of pressure on to get another goal back from themselves, they've just been relentless on the attack. So it'll be Jackson on the corner for Pitt. As he sends it into the outside of the box for Merkovich. Merkovich shoots one, but high and wide there. So McLaughlin trying to set something up for Notre Dame. It's Patty Burns with it on the near side. McFadden racing for it, but Pitt doing a good job of just controlling the ball, not doing anything too sloppy. As the clock ticks, under 8.5 minutes left. Pitt still holding on to that 3-1 lead. Pitt not playing with any nervousness here. They seem very calm. Coach Jay Vidovich seems to have them prepared for this situation.
And I think it's a credit to the coaching staff and the job they've done in building this team to a point where they look veteran out there. They haven't been shaken by losing their best player, their leader in the attack. They've shown that they have quality across the field, and you're seeing it in so many places, and in what is really a complete performance here from Pitt in what they've done and how they've pulled apart Notre Dame in building this lead.
Seven and a half to go now. Pitt going back to their strategy from the beginning of the game where they're just able to play pass with their center backs. As they turn it over there, Notre Dame trying to get something going. Omar with it in the middle of the field, being challenged by Merkovich, and Merkovich fouls him there. Things getting a little chippy here now between Merkovich and Omar. Refs having to separate the players. Omar and Merkovich going at it there. Tension's flaring up a little bit. Merkovich still chirping at Omar. Teammates having to hold him back. Refs convening here, trying to discuss what's happening. As the clock is now stopped with 6:40 to go, as the refs try to sort out this situation between Muhammad Omar and Philip Merkovich. Two players still talking. Omar, the junior from Toronto, and Merkovich, just a freshman from Belgrade, Serbia. And as we take another look at the scrum that kind of caused this flare-up between Merkovich and Omar.
And it's a clear foul there from Merkovich, but this is where it comes in Merkovich stepping over Omar, and he takes a little bit of offense to that, and rightly so. It's just unnecessary and leads to this flare-up. Merkovich with a little bit of a shove to the face, and I think if we're fair that the ref has done a good job in cautioning both, and not enough for an ejection there, but certainly unnecessary from Merkovich, and Omar takes the bait a bit for that flare-up.
As Omar looks to be subbing out of the game now.
And you see the ref resetting the clock there to 7:55, not allowing that extra minute to tick off. A smart move here from Chad Riley to pull off his star midfielder, Muhammad Omar, let him cool off and not let things escalate even further and run the risk of losing him for the next match.
Yeah, definitely. And it seemed like Merkovich was the one kind of inciting the fight there, as Notre Dame presses ahead. And the flag is up for offsides. Patty Burns sent it into the box, but nothing to do there. It looked like Russo was the one who was offsides there. Take another look at that play.
Right, and you see the ball slided through from McFadden, and it's here where Russo takes 2 steps towards the ball and makes an attempt to play it, clearly an offside position. So a good call there from the assistant referee.
Notre Dame back with it now. Trying to get something going. That extra minute added on, certainly beneficial for the Irish. Clock is against them right now, but obviously an extra minute does not hurt. So Farley being challenged by Bailey right now. Bailey not making anything easy for him. Now Notre Dame presses onward. Pellegrino trying to make something happen. That one's sent back out. Now it's Mayer trying to gain possession for Notre Dame, and he does. But once again, Notre Dame forced to reset and forced to take more time off the clock. And once again, Notre Dame not on the same page there. That pass intended for Coleman did not get to him. And again, Notre Dame just unable to get anything going on that far side right now. As Pitt will get a throw in as the clock ticks under 6 minutes to go. Pitt just trying to launch it as far as they can away from their goal. Trying to eat up as much of this clock as possible as Petkovic gains possession of it. And now Bailey, with numbers, sends it over to Dexter. Dexter sends it into the box, but that one's blocked away by Mayer. Now Notre Dame possibly with a chance on the counterattack here. Dexter racing back, trying to take it away from Pellegrino, and he's called for the foul. As we take another look, Dexter racing back there.
Yeah, and a bit of a professional foul here from Alexander Dexter. A bit of a surprise not to see him go into the book for stopping that Notre Dame attack, but a smart foul there in allowing Pitt to get behind the ball and not allow Notre Dame to break.
Patty Burns now with it on the near side. He'll get a throw in. McFadden taking it. As McFadden launches it into the box. And Campuzano forced to make kind of a save there, but Notre Dame, once again, nobody really home from that pass.
And a good toss there from Aiden McFadden. Clearly caught Pitt off guard and something they perhaps hadn't seen on the scout there.
Both teams trying to gain possession at midfield right now. As Mayer comes away with it, has to send it back to McLaughlin. McLaughlin sends it deep, and Pitt will have possession with just under 4.5 minutes left here, and Notre Dame still unable to chip into that Pitt lead. Pitt feeling more and more comfortable at 3-1 here. As Notre Dame gets a fortunate corner there. Mistake from Campuzano, and Notre Dame now racing up the field.
And another errant touch there from Campuzano. I think if there was one question mark leading from this game for Coach Vidovich, it's in between the pipes there for Pitt.
As Notre Dame rushes ahead, McFadden will take the corner. He curls it into the box. That one finds its way back out, and they put it in. Campuzano is there off the shot from Radovoisa.
And well done there from Radovoisa to get a good contact and put it on frame, but not too many questions asked of Campuzano. He does well to hold it and not allow for the rebound.
Dexter now getting ahead, Mayer on his trail. Now he slows it down. Pitt will have a throw in here. And yeah, that corner looked awfully similar to the goal that Notre Dame scored earlier, but Radovoisa just not able to get it to the side of the net as much, and Campuzano is there as Bailey now trying to put it into the box. O'Brien is there to boot it out, but now it'll be another corner for Pitt as the clock ticks under 3 minutes to go. And Bailey down on the field for Pitt. Looks like he might be cramping a little bit.
And perhaps the result of a lack of minutes there. You talked about the tough preseason and uncertainty leading this season, and then a guy in Matt Bailey who hasn't had his number called too much early on because of Edward Kiza, but has played a huge role tonight and been massive for Coach Vidovich in filling the void of Edward Kiza. He's done well at that center forward position, and Body giving up on him a little bit here with only 3 minutes left to go.
And Bailey, a senior leader on this team. As there you see Coach Jay Vidovich again. You know, he's done a great job tonight of just putting his team in a good position to win. Obviously, Pitt with some circumstances that they didn't expect coming into tonight, losing their top goal scorer from last year. But even with that, they've looked fantastic here.
Well, Coach Vidovich has to be pleased on the bus ride home.
As Pitt sends it into the box, and McLaughlin is forced to tip it over to the top of the crossbar.
And so many positives coming from this game for Pitt. You talk about filling that void of Edward Kiza, but Vidovich and his staff are a staff that are not going to take anything less than perfection. So certainly things to work on as we get another look there. A good header from Ordonez, and Pitt with yet another corner kick, and still knocking on that door here with almost 2 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, Pitt's really been unrelenting in their attack as Jackson puts another one into the box. That one's kicked away by Farley. minutes left, and Notre Dame still unable to gain any sort of possession. Pitt's looking at a win in their first game of the season. As we look at the scoring summary for tonight, I mean, there you see it there. Pitt's been really dominant, especially in the second half, and that own goal really set the tone. I mean, it's listed there as an own goal, but really it was another great play by Dexter Alexander to put the ball in a spot where Pitt had a good chance to get it into the back of the net.
That's right, and this Pitt team has been the better team all night, and I think it's a fair scoreline. They've come out and their stars have come to play. Notre Dame's had trouble finding their way in the attacking third. They haven't really created chances off the run of play at all, and it's early in the season. You're seeing some of that, but Pitt certainly questions answered and a lot to build on here early in the season.
As we tick under 1 minute to go, and Pitt, despite trailing in the all-time series, Notre Dame leads the series 18-4-3. Pitt with a very dominant win here tonight with just 40 seconds left to go.
And this is not the Pitt of old.
No,
this is a Jay
absolutely
Vinovich's
not.
Pitt. They're here, and they're here to stay. And I think we've seen tonight, Chris, a team in Pittsburgh that is capable of challenging for an ACC title. And if you're capable of challenging for an ACC title, you should be in the national title conversation, and certainly maybe a stretch to say that at this point, but they've shown that they can be dominant really in this game and last week when we watched them at Louisville. So a truly great performance for Coach Vinovich and Pitt Panthers, and a well-deserved win.
And as the clock ticks down within the final 5 seconds, Pitt will get a win in their first game of the season. Jay Vinovich really taking this Pitt team to the next level, and we see that here tonight as Pitt comes